Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Byron Donalds delivers the perfect answer on exactly what to look forward to when it comes to reforming our Department of Justice. The CNN host was left in stunned silence. Now let's dive in.
The Trump administration, they apparently want the names of those at DOJ who worked on the investigation of January 6th, so it sounds like a purge is underway. And my question to you is, why should a rank-and-file FBI agent who was assigned to investigate the events of January 6th, why should they be given their walking papers?
Well, it's good to be with you. I think what they're doing right now is you're having to go through and right-size this agency. Let's be very honest with the American people. It is without a doubt that the Department of Justice under Joe Biden was weaponized against Donald Trump and weaponized against conservatives. That is a fact. You can even look at the charges that went on to people who just were walking through the Capitol at January 6th, people who weren't even violent on January 6th, and they were supercharging those individuals to make a political point. Donald Trump talked about this on the campaign trail, that they were going to clean out the rot that is in the Department of Justice, in the FBI, and so this is the beginning of that process. At the end of the day, what we need are these institutions to not be a respecter of persons because of their political viewpoints or because of who they support, but that the only thing they are concerned about is equal justice under the law. If you look at the last 4 years of these institutions, that has simply not been the case, especially if you are a conservative or an America First supporter of Donald Trump in America. Those institutions have been weaponized against you. The president has a responsibility to clean them up, and this is the start of that process.
Okay, I'm going to accept for the purpose of this discussion what you've just said as being accurate. Let's assume that it's accurate. Why, if I'm an FBI agent and I was given an assignment, I never made the decision as to how I'd spend my time, I'm somewhere further down on the food chain, I'm given an assignment to go out and run down some lead relative to January 6th, my name now shows up on a list and I'm going to get fired because I was simply carrying out my responsibility? That doesn't seem right.
Well, I mean, look, the first thing that's happening is what's going on in the political brass. That's why Kash Patel going over to be the next FBI director is critically important, because the political brass is where, to your point, a lot of these decisions were made. Now, if you're a ranking file, there's going to be an additional process for that. But you got to start somewhere. If you're going to clean out any institution, you have to figure out where the rot begins and where it ends, and that has to be your scope. And that's not just about FBI. It's not just about the Department of Justice. That's what would happen at any institution if they were getting off of their core mission, and especially if they were not being responsive to the community or the customers that they serve. That is a simple proposition that would happen anywhere in America. It has not happened in the Department of Justice or FBI, which is one of the reasons why those institutions have been rotting and getting off of their core mission, especially over the last 4 years, but we can go as far back as the Obama administration.
And maybe, Byron, you can go even farther than that. There's a long list of very interesting orders that have been given out to the FBI and the CIA, particularly under Democratic administrations. The ball got really rolling under the Obama administration when he gave direct orders to the IRS to weaponize themselves and go after conservative groups. Okay? That was a scandal that should have broken an entire presidency. Remember Watergate? Remember that Richard Nixon got people under his authority to enter the Watergate Hotel and look into his political opponent? Yeah, I think weaponizing the IRS is way worse. And one dude got, Richard Nixon nearly got impeached for it. He had to leave office before the vote was taking place. And ever since then, Americans have looked at their government with incredible skepticism and gone, I'm not so sure about this, because that was the same administration that kept the Vietnam War going, although it was Nixon that calmed it down enough to where we were able to have a withdrawal, I think in late 74, or did Gerald Ford come in by that time? Regardless, you then compare that scenario to Barack Obama, and then you realize that, this is the same thing but worse. And so, when you are trying to clean up a government, and particularly the federalized part of the government that keeps on pushing boundaries, keeps on looking at the Constitution, goes, how can I push the envelope today? How can I get around certain rules today? And it got worse from Barack Obama. It got a little bit better under Trump, and then it got way worse under Joe Biden. And so, let's say that you've screwed up at work. Okay, let's say that you, however, have a working relationship with your manager, and your manager knew that this was probably going to be a mistake. He says, hey, can you please clean this up? And you go, oh, I missed that? Sure thing, boss. But the next day, there is now a new person in town that takes the place of that manager. That manager has been so good, he gets promoted. So you get a new manager in town, and your new manager looks at your record and goes, can you please explain this? It's filled with all these errors and problems. Can you please explain what the issue is? And all you have to do is say, yes, I've had an issue with X, Y, and Z, but X has been fixed, Y is getting fixed, and Z, gonna be honest, that's all on me. Okay? It's that simple to admit to a potential problem. Because if you've been given an assignment that makes you feel a little bit dirty, but you're forced to do it no matter which way you slice it, and someone then calls you out for it later, you can at least have a paper trail saying, hey, I protested this. That's a smart thing to do if you're in the FBI, but these people that are being defended by this ridiculous host here on CNN, those who were weaponized and then used against the incoming administration and used against Donald Trump, yeah, I'm going to be taking a look at those people if I'm Trump. And there's a whole litany of reasons why. I just explained the best to you. But then there's also the whole idea of, well, if you're that willing to be used as a weapon and you don't seem to have any moral qualms against it, I'm not sure I can trust you to be a fair and impartial person when it comes to dealing with your assignments as a federal government employee. See, that's why the Trump administration and Elon Musk is offering the federal buyout. Whereas if you want to step out of the federal government, you're going to get an 8 months severance. A lot of federal workers aren't going to take this because they see it as their duty to stand up to Donald Trump. And instead of recognizing that, oh, there's a potential problem, or realize that they themselves might be the issue, they're going to be evaluated later on and likely fired because you can't keep that under wraps forever. And particularly in the case of the FBI, this isn't about retribution. This is entirely about the ideals of, can you follow the Constitution? Can you be loyal? And do you have any major problems with the Trump administration? And if the answer is no, then yeah, you don't deserve to be working in the FBI anymore. If it makes you that uncomfortable, take the severance. And so Byron Donalds just perfectly outlines what's actually going on. This isn't a purge yet. I don't think a purge is incoming, but I do think that federal government employees are about to be put under the microscope like never before, and they're probably going to deserve it. And we've had a bloated federal government for forever, and now we've had a FBI that was weaponized against the American people. Yeah, someone needs to come in and clean house. But ultimately, I think the problem is not the employees themselves. No. The employees do what they're told. That's what they're supposed to do. After all, good soldiers follow orders. I think when it comes to the chain of command, and you'll see this in Sun Tzu, all right, in The Art of War, you'll notice that if the orders are clear and they're carried out, it's not the issue of the soldiers. If the orders are clear and they're carried out, they're the issues of the soldiers. But if the orders are unclear or go against other orders, it's the issue of the management. And it's the management that's sending out those orders. I think Lincoln came to this conclusion when he was going to pardon a whole lot of Confederates. John, I'm not a big fan of Lincoln as a president, but the man he could have been. He was the right one to reunite everything during the Reconstruction period, and he had the right idea that you need to forgive certain people here and there in order to keep the Union intact. I think forgiving the federal employees carte blanche is probably the best idea, but it's the people who handed down the orders. Those are the ones that deserve the most scrutiny. Everyone else, just a quick meeting. Are we all on the same page? That's what needs to be asked. That's what Byron Donalds made the point here in this video. And now, well, it's time to see how all the chips fall. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.